Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order Hayes in the Barn edition. The boys are done. They got their final workout in at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Media's done, and now it is locked in, ready to go in the hotel, meetings, film review. It's in the air tonight, man. It starts playing in your head a little bit when it gets to be this time. 2 days, no practice left. Surely a surreal moment for these players, because I'm telling you, there's all these little and it's different with these guys. These guys have never had a time where you could keep extending the season, but they just had their final practice as Buckeyes for a lot of these guys. So a lot of these older guys. So we talk a little bit about that. Take your questions. Going a little early today, just because there's a lot of great stuff. NFL playoffs, UFC fights. So we're gonna knock this out a little bit early, but we appreciate you guys as always. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. If you want to guarantee a national championship victory, I'm talking guarantee it, get on your phone, hit the Apple Podcast button, type in Buckeye Scoop. Very superstitious around here, but we're trying to help you guys out completely free. Takes 30 seconds to do and is a huge help to us. So again, all of you guys that have done that, I appreciate it. You guys have left 5-star reviews. It's been awesome. Thank you for helping us out there. Again, we try to grow everything, grow the message board, grow the YouTube channel. This has been lagging behind, and you guys are really helping us out, so we appreciate that. So, but again, I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Gonna bring in my good friend Yokozuna Buck. Yokozuna Buck is celebrating his daughter's birthday. Went to a Japanese Benihana style restaurant today and is feeling amazing. If he falls asleep, we apologize, but he is a very full little sumo wrestler today. Nevada, how are you feeling right now?
Oh man, I may never eat again. I mean, they loaded me up with that salad and then the soup, and then I got the fried rice, and then they give you the noodles, and then you get the steak, and then you get the lobster. I mean, it was just like, it was too much. I am so full right now. But Nevadabuck has made it. I'm halfway across the country picking up little Nevadabuck broods as we move our way towards Atlanta. I'm halfway across the country and getting ready to invade Atlanta tomorrow, kind of like Sherman marching to the sea, and leaving a path of destruction in my wake, and ready for a great Monday night with the Buckeyes. So I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, that's a long drive. Oh my God. I did Denver to Columbus. When I got cut by the Broncos, 7 a.m. in the morning, I loaded up my car and I had a Monte Carlo Super Sport, drove all the way across the country straight. And it was long. And I mean, it was long, but I made it. And I was too cheap to get a hotel room in Kansas or halfway. So props to you for grinding through that. But the team had their final workout today. They allowed the media. But my favorite thing in the world is when they let the media come in and watch like 10 minutes of practice. And it's like warm up period, stretch period. It's like the most, the team and staff, they know that when the media's there, okay, they have like a little thing on the schedule that says media availability. And then they put the stuff out, like they don't walk through any offensive stuff, defensive stuff. It's as vanilla and of boring of football as you could get. Oh, let's run around cones and let's do whatever, because the coaches hate the media, and they're always paranoid about spies, especially in a game like this. So they had their access where they could get their little B-roll shots, but it's a surreal. I'm telling you, for guys like Jack Sawyer and Will Howard, it's a surreal moment when you realize that you're never going to practice again for Ohio State, like ever again. And like for a guy like Jack, this has been his life for 4 years. And the thing that's different, obviously, this year's with this playoff is like they kept like kind of living. Will this be the last time? Do we win? Do we extend it? Well, now there is no extension. This is it. So I lived it. It was much different. Obviously, my last practice was in Louisiana, getting ready to play LSU, and like there was no tomorrow. It was like play that game, whatever. But like talk about a little bit about that, because like this is a group that's been maybe the best group of seniors ever. Like I know you guys probably roll guys and say Kirk, superlative bingo like always, but I just think that you look at the leadership, you look at how good these guys are. Frankly, and I mean this sincerely, this is the most under awarded class in school history by far, because Will Howard didn't get anything. Cody Simon didn't get anything. Some of these guys are, in some years they'd be like first team All-Americans, promoted. We don't promote these guys at all. It's horrific. But I mean, the fact that like Lathan Ransom, and again, Caleb Downs is a superstar. And I think that hurts Lathan when it comes to the national award scene in the Big Ten, and because it's hard to vote um, two guys All American, but Lathan has been so good this year. And a guy, he's a guy I'd happily give him a branch of my tricks. I love watching Lathan Ransom play, especially given where he's come from. The falling down versus Georgia on that long touchdown, and the abuse he took, and the injuries, and watching him play now. Again, like people scoffed at Jim Knowles' 3 safety defense, but and again, I don't gimmicky, I don't stupid, but I think when you've got our 3 guys, especially Jordan Hancock, he's been incredible too. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever see a trio of safeties as good as these guys. And again, I'm not every time Ohio, you see Marvin Harrison last year, JJ shows up. That's the thing, is it's tough to say that when every time you think you've seen the best, there's someone that comes down the pike a year later or 2 years later that's as good or better. Again, like Marvin Harrison was the conversation. Is he the best receiver of all time? And now JJ shows up, and is he the best receiver of all time? And Troy Smith to Terrell Pryor to CJ Stroud to so there's always this improvement coming down the pike. But this trio of safeties has been incredible. But Nevada, talk a little bit about this senior class heading into this final game, what they've meant. And and there's guys like Will Howard's only been here for a year, who's made an incredible impact. And Ryan Day. And again, I give Ryan Day. You guys said that the thing about us is we're very fair. We're very. We'll be critical of Ryan or praise Ryan. Ryan Day is the best quarterback evaluator in the country at any level, NFL, college. That's why I was always scared about him going to the NFL, because if I was the owner of a team, he'd be the first guy to want to interview, because I want a guy that can develop a quarterback. So when he pulled the plug on Kyle McCord, which again, in the locker room, I could imagine Kyle had some people that were his supporters and had some people that were probably a little upset that Kyle was basically jettisoned to go get Will Howard. It was ballsy, because he knew the type of team that he had coming back. And then on top of when you had Caleb Downs and Quinshawn and all that, like you better make sure you have the right guy at quarterback. And Ryan did it, and again, like you cannot give Ryan Day enough credit. And it's like I said 2 years ago when he went after Drake May. And Drake May is going to be a superstar, $50 million a year quarterback in the NFL for the Patriots. When he went after Drake May, that was when I knew that he wasn't sold on Kyle McCord. I knew that like there was something that wasn't clicking with Kyle McCord. And so when he's trying to replace him, which again, obviously Drake May would be a humongous upgrade, the last year that he was in college, he was gonna, but the thing that it told me when he did that was that Ryan is an absolute cold-blooded killer when it comes to making sure that he has a top 5-ish quarterback or a very productive college quarterback. He wants the best quarterback in the country every year. And if a guy isn't up to the challenge, then he's going to go find a guy that's up to the challenge. And he did that with Will Howard. But talk a little bit about this group, Nevada, because, again, we've tried not to cry on the air and tried not to get sad. But, I mean, there's a lot of these guys, man, that's going to be, when they win this national championship, it's going to be sad to watch some of these guys go, because they're so, not only are they great players, but they're great kids and they're great leaders and they're great for the university and great representatives. Like I said, I always judge a lot of these guys by how much would I have loved to play with some of these guys. Like, I mean, like Will Howard, he just reminds me of Troy. I mean, he's the same kind of leader. He's tough as nails, productive, mannerisms, the whole 9 yards. And then you look at Trey Henderson, how he pass protects and knocks guys out. Donnie Jackson flipping out the left tackle. Like, there's so many layers to this thing. Talk a little bit about this class and what it's meant to Ohio State.
Well, you talked about us being fair. Like in fairness, I mean, you look at this class and you go, what an amazing group of upperclassmen. We could probably spend the next hour just going one by one with all these guys and, all their accolades and how terrific players they are, what terrific people they are. But objectively, they haven't, the irony is they haven't accomplished a darn thing here at Ohio State yet. They haven't won a Big Ten title. They never beat Michigan. They haven't won a national championship yet. And so Monday for them, while for me personally, and this is just my personal feeling, there's no way that this year is a failure, in my view. Any year that you win the Rose Bowl and the Cotton Bowl, any year that you in the postseason beat Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas consecutively, it's not a failure by any stretch of the imagination. They put Ohio State back on the pantheon of great teams, and for that we all owe them a debt of gratitude. But in terms of rewriting the entire legacy of the class, they have a chance to do that on Monday night, because if they win that game, they go from being the team that didn't win anything their 4 years to the team that won everything their 4 years, and in the most unlikely of circumstance, when everybody counted them out on the hardest possible road in the first 12 team play. I mean, they will have done it all. So it's for me, it's not make or break on Monday night. I'm not going into it thinking, wow, we lose this game, it's been a disaster, it's all hope is lost. I don't want to be a fan anymore, I quit, I'm going to burn my stuff. But for these guys, man, there's just an opportunity that doesn't come around much, often in life, where you have a second chance to kind of redefine how everybody looks at you for the rest of your life. And for the rest of your life, these guys can be national champions at Ohio State, want to be one of the most beloved, if not the most beloved team in school history. And what's standing in their way is a Notre Dame team that's very beatable, a very beatable Notre Dame team with a relatively inexperienced coach. So that's what they have to get through to get that national championship. And so, it's really, like I said, I don't have any mixed feelings about the team. I love this group. I love this group of kids. But for them to write their own chapter in the legacy of Ohio State football and to be remembered the way that they should be remembered, the way that they deserve to be remembered, the way that they ought to be remembered, got to get it done in 48 hours and beat Notre Dame, close the story out right, and be a national champion, and like I said, just write the last chapter of a great book.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the sad part is, and again, do I think that the season is a failure when you lose, or if you lose this game? I mean, it's not a total failure, but I mean, like, again, I lived, the greatest Ohio State Michigan game of all time, the 1-2 game, and like us losing that Florida game put a huge damper on that. It put a damper on Troy Smith's career, unfairly, I might add you, because I think Troy's the best big game quarterback we've ever had at Ohio State, and but that's the game that everyone brings up, and it's not his fault that we all sucked that night. I mean, we gave up 41 points on defense, and we didn't do anything on offense, so it was just a bad night. But again, it was a bad night to have a bad night. So like I said, I keep going back to the Herb Brooks thing when they had to play Finland after they won the Miracle on Ice versus Russia. It was like, if you don't win he was nails, because he said, you don't win this gold medal, then all that beating the best team of all time doesn't mean anything. So these guys know that. And again, I think that what I've said over and over again is that winning that national championship supersedes everything, because these guys will have they're going to have a big opportunity here. And again, this is a wounded Notre Dame team. Now they're tough. They're tough as nails. Like, you can't take anything away from them. And they've got, like I said, if Justin Frye would become a head coach, like he interviewed for, I think Ball State or whatever, Justin wants to be a head coach. His dad was a head coach in Indiana. Joe Rudolph, who's Notre Dame's line coach, is my first call by far. Joe Rudolph is fantastic, and he's the guy that I'm very close with. He was a coach at Ohio State. He was actually he was a GA, so he's what I was in 12. Different cat, went to Carnegie Mellon. I think he has his MBA from Carnegie Mellon. Played at Wisconsin, played for the 49ers. Then got his MBA at Carnegie. But his O-line really plays really well. And, he developed Joe Alt. He came in after Harry Heastand. And, Marcus, the reason Marcus Freeman hired him is because he remembered him from when he was a player. So, when Harry Heastand retired suddenly last year, and, Marcus, a problem with Marcus, and this isn't like a short-term thing, but like, from a long-term perspective, is Marcus really hasn't been many places where he's been exposed to coaches that he would eventually hire to his staff. Now, he was at Ohio State, obviously, as a GA for a year, 2010 with me, went with Daryl Hazel to Kent, and went to Purdue. But when you're a coach who's had to bounce around a little bit more, like Ryan Day's been kind of all over the place since he started coaching. Boston, Florida, Boston College, Eagles, 49ers, wherever else. You get exposed to a lot of guys and you meet a lot of guys, and so Mark has had a pretty short list of O-line people, and I'm sure Tress told him, dude, you need to talk to Joe Rudolph, and Marcus knew Rudy, and he does an incredible job. But yeah, these guys, they got a lot on the line, man, and it's I think that they know that. Again, I can't emphasize enough how much these two losses are going to help these guys, because if they don't have the right plan, or they don't want to feel excited, or they don't want to, they know that they've, if they don't show up, they can lose, and again, I don't think that Michigan is totally the team's fault. I think a lot of it had to do with the staff and the coaching and the game plan on offense, but they still got to execute it. I mean, that's the thing is, no matter how horrific a game plan could be, like, you still got to do the best you can to execute it. And the biggest thing with this game is it's going to come down to, not making mistakes and capitalizing and making the big splash plays. That's something that, in the big games that I played in, our skill guys played really big. Like, you go watch that Michigan game in 06, Ted Ginn was unbelievable in that game. I mean, go look at his stat line. He wasn't, people like Teddy's just like a punt returner and runs reverses. Or Teddy led the game in receiving, and he was a problem. And they couldn't load the box up when we had Teddy out there. And that was something that I told people against Florida. Now, is Ted worth 20 points or whatever, 27 points, whatever we lost by? He's not. But I mean, our entire, you guys can't, keep your safeties down in the box when Teddy's out there, because that'll scorch any corner in the country. So our guys like JJ have got to play big. And, JJ was, puffing his shots out a little bit today, which, again, I'm fine with that. When JJ says, I'm going to put on a show, I'm like, good. Throw it to him 25 times, because you'll probably have 10 catches for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns if you do that. So I'm all about that, especially if they're going to play man. And they put that first team All-American is going to be on JJ, and I think JJ is going to eat his lunch. And I'm really excited to see JJ play on this stage. He's played on big stages, like obviously the Rose Bowl is a huge stage, but this is the biggest stage any of these guys have ever been on. So I'm just excited. And again, I think that there's a part of me that thinks that Notre Dame is going to say screw it and play man, because they've got a first team All-American DB back there, and he'll help out with JJ. And I think that there's some arrogance there where they're like, well, we did it versus Georgia and Penn State, and they're top 5 programs, so why can't we do it against these guys? So sometimes you got to dance with the one that brought you. And if man coverage is what got you here, then do you want to show fear to your kids and have a whole new plan, and we don't believe that you can cover JJ? Or do you say, no, I dare you to cover him? I think we can lock these guys up, and pass rush will get there, and we'll see. What are your thoughts about it? I got a couple days left. Tomorrow's going to be as tense. I mean, these guys will be not tense, but I mean, sit around that hotel all day and walking through and meetings all day. You're ready to get out and get running. This is going to be a long 48 hours, but your thoughts as we're 48 hours out right now?
Well, with JJ, it's interesting with JJ, because JJ is a man of very few words. And so when he speaks, you generally listen. And so when he's saying he's ready to go off, put on a show on Monday night, I would not bet against him putting on a show on Monday night. That generally does not bode well for the opponent's turn to do that, because I know, the Texas scheme to take him away, and Ohio State went to Cornell and to Mecca, and we're able to exploit some of that. But JJ wants to get his, and they know they've got the best wide receiver in college football right there. You've got a team at Notre Dame that, you're right, likes to play. They like to play man defense. That's their identity. That's what they've done all year, and I do think we'll see a bunch of. I've been in the boat that I do think we'll see a lot of man defense out of them, because I think they believe they can do it, and we'll find out. We'll find out if they can cover JJ. I know that for Ohio State, the more that we kind of peek into the game plan, I really do think that Ohio State's going to try to speed up the game and try to use tempo and try to go fast when they can, to try to get as many plays as they can, and Notre Dame's going to try to slow it down. So, one of the great things about going fast with a guy like JJ is if they make a mistake, if they're even just a little bit late with him, or a little bit late getting over or around, he can blow the top right off it. And that we haven't had guys like that all that often. That's what made Ted Ginn, so special and spectacular. Ohio State is game breaking ability. As great as Marvin Harrison was, and this is a knock at Marvin, but Marvin wasn't really a take it over the top kind of guy, but JJ is. JJ is an absolute Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, can score from anywhere on the field and in any way, a bunch of different ways. And I think Ohio State's got a really good game plan to get in the ball, and I think he's excited about it, and he is ready to put on a show. And if Ohio State can get ahead, do I think that we're going to blow Notre Dame out? I hope we do, but I don't think God loves me enough or the gods. I'll say the God. I won't say God. I'll say the gods love me enough to give me the ability just to sit there and enjoy the game when we're up 42-0 or something like that. So I think they're going to make me sweat. But ultimately, when you've got guys like JJ, when you've got so many weapons, we just have too much firepower for Notre Dame, and we'll come on top.
Well, I think that part of it is we've played Notre Dame recently, obviously, and we had we had one of the closest games of all time. I mean, it wasn't a picnic. We're out at South Bend, and we had to score on the last play when they only had 10 guys on the field, and I felt like we were better that year, in terms of what they were. But I don't know. Like, it's gonna be it's a resilient Notre Dame team. I don't think there's anywhere near as talented as we are, but if Chip's on his game, especially versus a team that likes to run man defense, he's gonna shred them. And I think that that's where we're going to end up at, because I think that our defense is suffocating. Our defense has been the best in school history. And I think that, when you've got a one-dimensional Notre Dame team that wants to run the ball and shorten the game, it's interesting. And again, I would love if they would tempo these guys a little bit, because, one of the benefits to the depth that we have on our D line is that if a team tempos us, then our guys can get a little bit of rest in between a series and rotate. I would tempo Notre Dame, because I don't want to test their D line depth, because losing Riley Mills, he's their Jack Sawyer. So when you lose your best player, then that means that you've got a guy who previously was not in the rotation, who's now forced to play in the rotation across the D line. And I want to get that guy out on the field. That's why, you want to wear him out a little bit. You want to tempo him. You want to be physical. You want to make him pay a price. And that's the thing, is when you lose a guy up front he's second team All-American. I mean, on ESPN's list, he's their second best player on the team, and he's not playing. So I don't want to test that out a little bit and see who's out there and attack some of those guys. And you got to watch. I think you got to watch special teams too. I mean, these guys go after punts a lot, and they send Bryant Young's kid, who's like 6'7", and he's the guy that roughed the kicker twice in the Georgia game. And it's just like, so you got to be ready for that. And like I said, I just think that, I look at the games that I lost, and like how many, like when we played LSU, like obviously they won, but did we do a million stupid things that made it so that we didn't deserve to win? Because that's why I told the media after the game, because again, I was the guy that when we lost the game, as much as I love talking to the media after we win and beat Michigan in the 1-2 game, I also didn't run when we lost the game, because again, I always thought that guys that hurry up and get out of the locker room or shower, or they go and hide when the media, because again, you got to remember in this game, this is different. Like the national championship, for whatever reason, and this is something I didn't know, they let the media in the locker room, and I don't know if they still do this, but the media was in our locker room like 10 minutes after the game. So that's not a normal procedure during college football. It's like that in the NFL. It's not like that in college. But I remember there's all these guys in the media, and they're talking, and they want to comment. Because I was the captain, I sat there and I was like, we didn't play well enough to win. We had 5 personal fouls. We had a field goal get blocked. We dropped a touchdown. We had a procedure penalty on the 1-yard line. Again, we literally looked like a clown car. We looked terrible. And again, and we came out fighting. Like that was the one thing about that team. That was a captain of an 07. Is like at least we fought. We showed up, we're winning 10-0. Obviously we choked because we did a million dumb things that you can't do that versus equal talent. That's the thing I've always said with Ryan. Ryan's record versus equal talent has improved over the last month, but before that it wasn't great. You can't make the mistakes. You can't turn the ball over. You can't do dumb things on special teams. and you can't take dumb penalties. Like that was something that just killed us in that game. And I think that this team's been clean in that regard. Our special teams have been good. In general, we've got this like vendetta against us where we're the least, we have the fewest penalties called in our favor in the entire country. So like, again, I watch some of these games and I feel like every week we're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, because like the NFL in my mind has got it rigged every week so the Chiefs can have the best opportunity to win, because I think they want Taylor Swift in every single Super Bowl. Like they want her in that suite so they can keep showing her. But I feel like that's kind of like what we're against every week, because we never get calls, and if there's anything kind of close, the other team is going to get a call. Like Texas is going to get like 5 shots from inside the 5-yard line. They're going to call DPI and give them as many chances as they can to win the game or beat us, and we still win, which bodes great for us. But yeah, this is my little rant against the officiating, because I guarantee you one thing. I've said there's a lot of things that we'll probably never see again for the rest of our lives. We're never going to see a team win the national championship that is 134th in penalties called in their favor for the rest of our lives. There's no way that'll ever happen. Nevada, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, first I want to address something. We played Notre Dame last year, and I want to ask you a question, and I'll offer my thoughts on it. I want to ask you a question. Do you think are we better or worse on offense? We'll go one by one. Are we better offensively this year than we were last year?
We are 100 million times better, because we don't have Tony Alford playing guys not named Trey Henderson at running back. Because Trey Henderson had that long run, but we still had this stupid rotation of like Mayan Williams and Chip Trainum, and like we had all these guys that are not professional, not NFL level players, and we had like Trey just, and on top of that, like Kyle McCord was terrible. So we are a million times better on offense than we were last year. Million times, maybe even higher.
Defensively, are we better defensively now than we were last year?
Yeah. Again, this is the best defensive team we've ever had. Caleb Downs, like he's the eraser, and not to mention the production from our D line, the confidence from our secondary, the coverages, the way we attack. Yeah, I mean, and frankly, Notre Dame on the flip is worse on offense. They don't have Audric Estime, and they don't have Joe Alt, who was, their 2 tackles last year were excellent, and this year not excellent. So continue.
And then defensively, is Notre Dame better this year than they were last year? The same, worse, better?
I mean, I think they're worse, because they had good players last year, and some of those guys came back, but again, like they're Riley Mills not playing is huge. Like I said, that he's a really good player, and to not have him in the game is great news for us.
Yeah, so you've got an Ohio State team that we feel is better on both sides of the ball, a Notre Dame team that's at best the same or maybe a little bit worse than they were, and the game's not at night in South Bend. The game's indoors at the Mercedes-Benz, which will probably be a 55, maybe 60% Ohio State crowd going into it. And, I just, I mean, I'm not saying, I think every game's an individual thing, and the transitive property doesn't work from game to game, especially between teams over years and stuff. But man, we're so much better than we were the last time that we played these guys. And, I thought that we were, for the last 2 years when we played Notre Dame, I thought we were way better than both times we played them. We was having to play one at night in Notre Dame, and that game stayed a little closer. The one before, we won pretty handily, in the horseshoe. But I mean, I don't think Notre Dame's changed that much. I think that their problems are still the same problem. They don't get elite athletes there at Notre Dame. We do have elite athletes, especially on the, certainly defensively, but certainly on the offensive side of the ball as well. And man, in terms of the referees, we're due some penalty calls. I mean, I wish that Ryan would put that out there a little bit more, because I know that stuff works. If you complain about something long enough, it works. It gets in their head. The officials do, especially when you lay that thing. I see coaches do it all the time. They'll be like, "Oh, we want to watch this guy. He pushes off a lot. He pushes off," and sure enough, they call a penalty for him for pushing off. It's like, wow, I wonder where that came from. So I hope Ryan reminds those guys, because some of the stuff that just gets by is just egregious. And I'd love to see just more. I can't imagine what the reaction of the crowd is going to be when they call a holding penalty on Notre Dame. in the national championship game. I'm sure it's, they'll get the big Bronx cheer on that one, because it's been a moment since we've had since week 2, week 3, or whatever it's been since we've had a holding call this year.
Yeah, and I totally agree about working the officials over with certain calls and certain things. Again, there is a great clip that NFL films. They mic these guys up in the NFL every weekend. Kyle Shanahan. There's a great clip of Kyle Shanahan talking to an official, and they were running an option route, which is an option route is basically a route where, the receiver, this was George Kittle, the tight end, who's a great tight end from Iowa, who plays for the 49ers, ran an option route. And basically an option route means it's based upon what coverage you get is what you do. And if there's nobody guarding you, you just turn around and put your hands out and you run a hitch and they throw the ball. If there's a guy on you, you try to generally win outside. So you run like a little pivot return. And Kyle Shanahan had studied enough film and saw how this linebacker played option routes. And he said to the official, and this is on video, this is one of the great things I've ever seen. He's talking to the official and he said, hey, and I don't remember the guy's number, 44, that linebacker, my guy is going to run a route where he's going to run 5 yards and break out because he knew the coverage he's going to get. And 44 is going to grab him because that's how he defends it. He's going to grab him and hope that you don't see it because that's how he defends it. And sure, it's going to be, and I'm going to have to find this. I'll post it on Buckeye Scoop. He runs the route versus that coverage, goes to break out. Linebacker grabs him and pulls him so he can't break out, hoping that then the officials see it. And the official that he talks to throws the flag. And it literally exactly how it went down. He's got to interfere with this route. Please call the penalty if they do it. And it is exactly what had happened. And it was, pass interference or defensive holding, whatever it was. And it was perfect. And I was like, that's, an example of why, if someone is doing something, like if you say, hey, versus JJ, this helpless corner, when we run this route, is going to have to grab him to be able to keep him from going a certain direction. And you could point to it and make the guy look at it and say, hey, that's exactly what I said was going to happen. When you get tells on film, hey, this guy's grabby. I think that early in the season, like Davison Igbinosun was, getting picked on a lot because I think a lot of these offensive coordinators, like, yeah, that guy, he's grabby. So if we throw it in his direction, we could catch it, or he could grab us and we get a free first down with a defensive pass interference or a holding penalty. Which is why, again, they put oven mitts on him. They put these like Nike golf gloves on that are like oven mitts for practice so that he can't grab anybody. But again, that's good coaching by Tim Walton. But I think that that's important. And again, it's hard because people think that it's like whining, kind of in the same vein that like Urban Meyer, when we're getting ready for 06, he was really politicking hard, pushing hard for my team should be in. The SEC is really tough. This is before the SEC wasn't anything before Urban Meyer showed up. And so he was politicking, and then there shouldn't be a rematch. We should play Florida, or we should play Ohio State. And then they got in the game and beat us. So it's like, people like they turn their nose up at politicking or asking for stuff, but it ends up working out great if you're good at it. The same way with working officials. And again, it's not complaining. It's not being overly insane, demonstrative. You don't want to show the official up, but you just want to like Kyle Shanahan was great. Like just calmly told him this is what's going to happen. And the official saw it and he threw the flag. And I was like, that is genius. Cause again, they'd run some similar plays earlier where where Kittle wasn't the target, just to see what coverage they get and to see how that guy would play him. And each time he'd held him. And so the third time they read it, it was like he went to run that route and the guy just grabbed him again, and it was a free flag. So again, I think there is something to that. There is an art to dealing with the officials, because you can't just act like a total idiot and a barbarian and yell at them. But if you're pregame, the officials always come to the locker room. Is there anything you need us to watch for? Yes, watch 77. He likes to hold on pass. Watch his hands outside the frame. Watch this. Hey, we've got this crazy formation we're going to run. Is this legal? Be ready for it. There's all kinds of stuff. You get like a 10 minutes where the head coach goes through some stuff. But yeah, I think Ryan is getting better and better about that. But that's something to watch for. See if we get some calls on Monday. Nevada, anything else? And we can dig into some super chats.
Oh, just last question for you. You win the toss. You take the ball. You defer.
I always defer. Always.
Do you do
Because
you do you, do you, do you want us to defer? I mean, do you want us to? I mean, do you want to
yes.
have the ball first, or do you want to go on defense first?
Here's the rule of thumb. When you have the number one defense in the country, you always defer. Get them out on the field, kick it off, touchback, get the ball on the whatever 25-yard line, have our defense force a 3 and out. They punt it. We get the ball at the 40, head at you 60 yards away from a touchdown. And then because again, I think that it's overpowered to have the ball. And of course, the Kansas City Chiefs are showing Taylor Swift instantly during the national anthem, of course, because why wouldn't they? Bet the Chiefs today, guys. So anyways, I think that drive coming out of halftime is overpowered because you know how they're defending you. This first drive, like, you'll have an idea. You'll expect man coverage and you'll expect, what they've showed on film, but you don't really know. Which again, I know that sounds silly because you're like, well, Kirk, there's 15 games of film. How can you not know? It's like, well, teams can change stuff. Now they can't change a lot over 9 days, but they've got a pretty deep playbook. And how are they going to defend JJ? How are they going to defend, our running game? How are they going to line up to certain formations? Are they going to change any personnel? Like, coming out of halftime, you already know all of that. So I feel like you've got, not saying that you don't have great success of scoring on the first drive, but that second drive, like that overpowered deal, like with, when we scored, Trey Henderson scored that screen pass, and then we got to come right out of the locker room, or you come out of that locker room. If you score end of the second quarter, I think Texas got the ball at the beginning of the second half, but like, if you score, that middle 8 minutes, and then you get the ball at half too, it's just so overwhelming if you can knock out 2 touchdowns in like an 8-minute stretch in that middle part of the game. So I don't know. I used to always love deferring because I loved watching our defense take the field first because, when we did that, we'd always have a shorter field. Because you got to remember, my defense in 07 with Cam Hayward and James Laurinaitis and Malcolm and those guys, we were number 1 in total defense. So those guys would go out there, they'd smash Wisconsin or whoever, force a punt, get some doubt in their minds, and then they'd punt it and we'd get the ball at like the 40. And we'd have 60 yards to go try to score a touchdown, and kind of away we went. So I hate taking the ball first. I just, it's fine. We do it when we have to if the other team defers, but I always like putting our defense out there because I feel like they've got a great chance to set the tone. And you can too on offense, but I loved getting the ball at halftime because I wanted to, that second half is like the money half, and you gotta, you get the ball first, you can go out and get a score. You know what you're going against defensively. So yeah, that's my opinion. Do you have a differing opinion? Because I hate when we get the ball first. Now we have to do it sometimes, but I would never ever, if we won the toss, take the ball first. And I don't think we really do that very often with Ryan. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely argue either way, but my preference certainly is to defer. So I was just wondering if you had a different thought on that. I just like the idea of that I have an extra possession in the second half of the game. By then the game's in the game flow, and so much of these games from a betting perspective, from a winning perspective, is just about number of possessions and expected value per possession. So I like having extra possessions. When I think they count. I think possessions in the second half are overpowered. And so I hope we win the toss, defer, go on defense, take them 3 and out, and away we go.
Well, no, I agree with you because, like I said, when you come out of the halftime, you know what you're getting on defense. You can make your adjustments, and now the adjustments they don't wait till halftime because they've got the iPads on the sideline, so the adjustments are much quicker, much easier to do now. But I just think that coming out of that half, you get a chance to set the tone on offense, and again, I just think that that's powerful. And again, I always loved our defense going out on the field and setting the tone early. Because the beginning of the game, both sides are feeling each other out to see, not just what are we getting schematically, but where are our personnel advantages? Like, can that corner really cover JJ? I don't care if he's, what awards he won. Is that All-American going to help out or, and then like for me, I always like to get into the game when I was a player or a coach and see how strong was the matchup I was against. How good was the guy really? Tyson Jackson from LSU was the 3rd pick in the draft, so he's pretty good. The guy that Booney went against, Alex, he was undrafted. So who should we attack? Probably the guy who's the undrafted free agent, not the third overall pick. So, but is he really that good? That's the other thing. Is like some guys have big time statistics and big time numbers, and then you play them, they're not really that good. I played a guy from Michigan State, a guy named Janal St. Deke. Look him up. My senior year in 2007, he had like 10 sacks and like he had some crazy like 6 forced fumbles or 7, some crazy stat like that. And like I played him and I killed him because he wasn't very strong. So I murdered him the whole game. It was probably might have been the best game I ever played, but he was a guy that, was I don't know if he was all Big Ten or second team all Big Ten, but you look at his statistics and it was just like, Jesus Christ, like but then you watch the sacks and they were against like Notre Dame and they were against like Notre Dame used to stink my senior, Bowling Green. So you gotta, when guys have a bunch of sacks, you gotta figure out who'd they go against. Did they do them versus Jake Long or did they do them against a bunch of turds? And his were all against turds. So I was like, well, this guy's not very good, not very fast, not very strong, and dominated. So, all right, Nevada, any thoughts? Then we will roll into some super chats.
No, just getting. I'm getting psyched, man. I'm getting psyched for the game. Can't wait to get down to Atlanta. Get down to Atlanta tomorrow, late afternoon, and away we go.
Yeah. All right, Mike Greene, what's up, brother? Thanks for the 5. Big Kirk, what up? I'm gonna have to come and meet you guys soon. I've met everybody from Menace to Sports and Gang. It feels like family on here. Money well spent. I appreciate you, my man. Yeah, we'll get a meetup together soon. I don't know when, but we'll get one. We haven't had one since I think mid-year, like June-ish. The meetups are fun. I try to find an optimal time where the most people can show up and kick it. And summers are hard. We did one in the summer, and a lot of people are out. Their summer baseball tournaments or vacation. But it was fun. But we'll do another one. We'll do the spring game one again at Buffalo Wild Wings because that one was crazy. That one was easy because a lot of people are going to the game so they can swing by. So again, we just try to optimize it for you guys, make it as good as possible. But I appreciate you, my dude. Hope you're having a great Saturday, and I appreciate you always being on here, my man. Rebecca Campbell, thank you for the 10. Nevada, is it true that Notre Dame gets $20 million for making it to the championship because they are not in a conference while OSU has to split it with all of the Big Ten? I believe that is true. Nevada, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a breakdown on that. There's a really good article that breaks down how all those monies kind of are allocated and how that works. Well, I mean, Ohio State has to share it. Ohio State also gets to share in other monies that they're getting. So it's not like they get 20 and we get 3 or something like that, because we're getting from a bigger pie from other schools that are participating in a bigger percentage of that. So well, I think that's technically true. It's not as good as it sounds on that. But for I mean, Notre Dame really likes their independence. I think ultimately their independence is going to go. They can live with this independence as long as the Big Ten and SEC let them. And eventually, the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get tired of subsidizing the ACC and the Big 12. And when that happens, it's going to be night time for Notre Dame and a lot of these schools, because they're going to have to either join a conference or get left out, because clearly, the teams that people are paying to see are from the Big Ten and the SEC and these other schools. We're the Globetrotters and they're the Washington Generals, and eventually that's up. But for now, but there's a really good article. I'll have to link the article on that. But there's a really good article that goes through all the payouts on that stuff.
Well, yeah, like you said, I think that if the SEC and Big Ten broke off, like Arizona State and Boise and those guys really wouldn't have any choice but to do thy bidding of the two monsters. The two monsters can do what they do, and it's wow, whoa, a Texas player just shoved a coach. That was crazy. Anyways, I think that when you look at Notre Dame, if you're the SEC and the Big Ten and you go start your own kind of NFL-ish type conference, then Notre Dame is worth a lot of money. They've got huge TV deal, huge lot of juice. Again, there's a big reason why this is such an expensive ticket. Obviously, Ohio State brings a ton to the table, but Notre Dame doesn't get to the national title game as often as we do. They don't They're not as prolific in the playoffs as we are. So, and their fans and their fan base and their donors have a lot of money. So that is driving that ticket to be a really, really expensive ticket. But I think that, at some point they're going to have to come to heel if they want to stay relevant, because, the SEC and Big Ten, kind of carrying the mail for college football. Eventually they're going to say, well, if we just split off, then we don't have to deal with, these smaller, Arizona states and Boise states, because, at the end of the day, like, both of the SEC and the Big Ten obviously want as many of their teams in the playoffs as possible. I think that these home games are really compelling in the playoffs, where you've got SEC schools coming north and that type of thing. So, why would you keep Notre Dame in when Notre Dame brings a ton to the table, because, again, of their influence, their prestige, what their TV contracts are worth. But, are you going to let them keep playing on the same playground with these other schools that all have to split the money? I don't know. That'll be interesting, because, again, if the SEC and Big Ten tomorrow just wanted to phase Notre Dame out, then Notre Dame doesn't really, basically cuts their legs off. If all of a sudden you say, well, you're not going to be a part of the big playoffs, so you can go play Boise and Arizona State and whoever else in there in the kind of the mid tier. There's going to be like the superpower, which is SEC Big Ten, the mid tier, and then there's like 1AA, which is like the bowl subdivision. So, yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to get with the program. But again, Nevada made a great point about how, just because we have to share the money doesn't mean, like, we got a chunk of money from Michigan last year when they went to the title game. So I think it works out fine. Obviously it would help if we had some of the bottom feeders would ever step up and do some stuff. But, and obviously Ohio State, they get to throw their weight around because they're obviously the biggest revenue generator in the Big Ten. But yeah, great question. But I think Notre Dame eventually is going to be forced to pick a conference, because, the SEC and the Big Ten have so much weight right now that they don't need to wait around for these guys to make a decision to see if they want to be a part of it. Ferris thoughts. Thank you for the 5. What's up with Urban and Tressel's love affair with Notre Dame during interviews this week? Urban has tears when talking Notre Dame, and Tress wouldn't pick a winner. Urban worked at Notre Dame, so and Lou Holtz gave him, that was his first major job, was being the receiver coach at Notre Dame, and Tress isn't going to pick. He's not going to pick a winner against Marcus. Marcus is one of his pupils, and a guy that Tress wears Notre Dame stuff. He never worked there, but he's going to support Marcus Freeman, and he's going to support he's going to support Joe Rudolph. Joe Rudolph was on his staff. It's just one of those things where he's not. It's the same as like Herbstreit doesn't pick when he makes a pick, or when he does a game. But I knew Tress wouldn't do that, because he's not gonna pick against Marcus and put any thoughts in Marcus's head. Urban, and again, I think, like, Urban is the master of psychology. So if he's crying about Notre Dame and saying how great Notre Dame is, I think that is to help Ohio State, because he doesn't. Urban was the king of taking jabs at Notre Dame. Like, when we hired Ed Warner and Tim Hinton from Notre Dame as our tight ends coach and O-line coach in 2012, he literally said at the press conference and at the basketball game when he announced the staff, he's like, we 2 guys that got a huge promotion in their careers from coming from Notre Dame to Ohio State, Ed Warner and Tim Hinton. And so, like, he loves taking shots at Notre Dame. And he never was really interested in Notre Dame. There was that time in 2005 where Notre Dame thought he was going to be their next coach, and Urban is not going to go somewhere where he's gonna have a bunch of kids from South Florida say, hey, here's your dormitory you get to stay in for 4 years, and here's all of the the pale kids that walk around Indiana all the time, and have fun with that. I was like, those SFE kids ain't coming up for that, I promise you. So Nevada, your thoughts on Urban and Tressel's love affair with Notre Dame? Again, I think that's more just being vanilla. Urban had tears, and Tress wouldn't pick a winner. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's just optics. I mean, you're kind of conflicted too, because you play with Marcus, so you're not really sure who you're rooting for on Monday night too, right?
I hate Notre Dame. I hated Notre Dame so bad in 2005 that it was just unbelievable. So when we won that game, I was ecstatic, just because I hated Notre Dame so much. And let me honest, I love Joe Rudolph. Joe Rudolph was one of my favorite coaches I ever had in football. Great human being, great wife, great coach. Worked a ton with me while he was there, because he was a guy that was a grad assistant, and we kind of had this succession where, he wanted to get into coaching. We didn't have any room on the staff because this is before analysts and the infinite coaching stuff. And so he actually got a job in the weight room where he was like an assistant strength coach. Now he wanted to be a real coach. So he left after a year of it. But he was in the strength staff with us in 06, and he was awesome. So I love Rudy, but I hate Notre Dame. I hate Notre Dame as much as I hate Michigan, easily. I can't stand the pretentious. And the weird thing is, like, I've met a lot of guys from Notre Dame, and they've been really good guys. Dan Santucci was a guard that played there. I played with him in the Bengals. Zibikowski was a guy, we had the same agent. Zibby was awesome, but I can't stand the pretentious nature of their fans, and I think they're a bunch of douchebags. So I hate Notre Dame. Yeah, so God bless Marcus. Monday, if we score 200 points on Marcus, I'll be fine. And I'm good with Marcus. He was an alternating captain in 07 when I was a full-time captain. So we went to Big Ten Media Day together. I've known Marcus for a long time, but I hate Notre Dame. So there's no love there.
No, I expect to see on Monday night that you're wearing like the half green suit and the half thing, getting it kind of like the Brady Quinn sister thing or something like that, and it's the little shillelagh and the little Irish hat,
a Joe Alt jersey. Joe Alt,
exactly. You'd be like the world's largest leprechaun, like this big cuddly leprechaun.
It kind of defeats the purpose of being a leprechaun when you're as big as me. You're not gonna sneak up on the pot of gold. But no, I don't know. Like they're the most arrogant fan base in the world. That's why smashing them in 05 was like the greatest feeling ever, because it was just like, oh, this is so. Because and honestly, it was worse back when I played because Charlie Weiss just being a douchebag all the time. But even so, like I don't, like again, the Notre Dame network and the Notre Dame prestige and the Notre Dame degree, and our guys would never cheat, and Ohio State could get all these guys into school that could never get into Notre Dame. I'm like, dude, you guys took Devontae Neal. I saw Devontae Neal's transcript. Like, I mean, come on, you guys got every school, even Harvard, Google it. They all have classes for athletes. So the Harvard basketball team, they're all criminology majors or sociology majors or whatever. So Notre Dame has that too. So again, when they would try to throw academics in my face, I'd be like, yeah, you guys took Devontae Neal. So shut up. Don't ever talk to me about academics at Notre Dame again. We've got smart guys at Ohio State too. It just depends on what you want to major in. Now, if you want to major in reading tread tires, then that's great, because that's what half their football team majors in. Or you could, like, I've got an MBA from Fisher, which is great in finance. So I didn't take some of the, and I had, there's guys at Ohio State that take majors that aren't really super daunting, but Notre Dame, that was my favorite. So they'd say, oh, well, that guy, he could never get into Notre Dame. There's no way. I was like, oh yeah, sure. Come on. You could go tell that, you go tell the father to go, talk to the president and say, hey, father, Mr. President guy, we got to get this guy that runs a 4.3 into school. Can't read too good. Transcript's not too good, but hey, he runs fast, so let's get him in. So that always annoyed me when they'd play the academic card. I'm like, no, it's because you guys are in the middle of Indiana. Nobody wants to live. None of those kids want to go live there for 4 years, sit in a dorm. Raiden, thanks for the 5. Do we still think ticket prices will fall tomorrow/Monday? OSU class of 09. Congratulations. That's awesome. Started watching the podcast this year. Great job this season. Appreciate you, my man. I think they will. I mean, I just think that, I would honestly wait till after kickoff to go. If I was really dying to go to the game, I would wait as long as humanly possible to get in. And I know everybody wants to have ticket in hand. Everybody wants to have, oh my God, there's no way I'll ever be able to get in. But I just think that, right now is the height of the market, because people have to get into town and get a hotel and make sure everything's reserved and whatever. But to me, it's just like, I don't know. Like, I mean, in the era of electronic tickets, like, you don't have to have a paper ticket in your hand, and you don't have to make sure that it's authentic. And like, now it's like you just swipe your credit card and away you go. So it's my opinion. Nevada, do you think that the tickets will still fall tomorrow/Monday? What are your thoughts?
No, there's no question. And you're so, I mean, just think about the practical realities of way tickets were just 10 years ago. You had to find a ticket, and then you had to go someplace and hook up with
Yeah.
somebody
Oh
to
yeah.
get the ticket. Which one was kind of scary. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Well,
Hey, bring
or get a mail deal on like Ticketmaster or something, or like the guy on the side of the road's got the little scanner things, and he's like, "Hey, here's my tickets that I printed off, and I want 200 for it." Like that's all dead now. Go ahead, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean that's that now you can wait and literally 20 minutes before the game, somebody has tickets online, they can transfer them right to your phone and bang, you're in the door. So yeah, the longer you wait, the better the deals you're going to get. There will always be deals. There will always have been deals, and you're already starting to see the market soften a little bit today, and that'll continue tomorrow, and certainly by Monday. It'll be softer, and the closer it gets to game time, it'll definitely be softer. So remember, those tickets reach zero value at kickoff. When the
Yeah.
kickoff
Oh yeah.
comes, they turn into a pumpkin and
Yep.
they become worth nothing. So everything must go before the kickoff. So just be patient.
I mean, I'd almost skip the first quarter, and you'd get in for probably half the price, and you'd miss a quarter of the game. Again, I'm crazy, but like, I mean, when I go to Ohio State games and need to get a ticket, I buy them in the parking lot of the Horseshoe 10 minutes before kickoff. And you just see the prices just crater. So I'm like, well, damn, I got in for, $150 instead of $600 or $500 or whatever, just to get into the building. And I think that this will be the same thing. Cause again, like these scalpers, they prey on your old fears of, oh God, I'm going to get locked out of the game. There's no way I'm going to be able to get in. I'm like, if you guys have the money and a credit card, you can get in, period. Like, I mean, it's not like there's going to be a time where all the tickets are going to magically be gone and, oh my God, I got locked out. It's not like you're buying a new Xbox or something when they come out. You're like, oh my God, there's not an Xbox on the shelf. How am I ever going to do it? It's like, no, there's always going to be tickets available. And I would wait as long as humanly possible. I know people want to get down there and get the hotels. You could do it. You get down there, get the hotel, and then I would wait till 10 minutes before kickoff and buy it. Click on the thing. The only sketchy part is if it's real crowded, the internet might suck, and you want to make sure that you get the things downloaded to your phone and your little wallet. But other than that, man, I'd wait as long as possible. Matty Z, thanks for the 10. Going to my first ever Buckeye game Monday. What are your favorite memories from this season, Nevada OH? Nevada, I will let you go first.
My favorite memories from this season, without a doubt, just this playoff run. Being there on the first home playoff game ever in the history of the shoe against Tennessee was magical. Violating Oregon and avenging a previous loss in the Rose Bowl, no less, the greatest venue in all of college football, was amazing. And then beating Texas on a road game and strip sacking Quinn Ewers. I mean, just this playoff run for me will always be the overriding memory of this team, and I really think it culminates with a win against Notre Dame on Monday, and the end in what my view is a perfect storybook season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that obviously Jack's play was amazing because Jack is he's been I mean his career
Maligned.
Maligned is a kind way to put it. People compared him to Bosa and Chase, and he's not going to get drafted as high as those guys did because they were top 3 picks, all 3 of them, the 2 Bosas and Chase Young. But he's made more splash plays than those guys did. He's had more memorable plays, and he's been a tremendous leader. I mean, none of those guys were captains because they all left early, and Jack stayed, and he's had an amazing run. So I think obviously Jack's strip sacking Quinn was something you always remember, just because. Not really because it made me feel good, but I felt great for Jack and his family after all that they've been through and all the stuff that they've told. And, these parents hear everything. So, it's tough being a parent sometimes when you say, oh, your kid's a bust and he's not good. And he's like, well, these NFL people think he's really good and he's playing good. And, he does a lot of stuff that might not show up in the box score, but, he's a guy that's a physical guy that we're going to miss, and he's a tremendous leader. So I think, Jack, obviously, the run that he's been on is what I'm going to always remember, because it's like Ezekiel Elliott playing defensive end, essentially. Like when Ezekiel went on that run from Wisconsin, Alabama, Oregon, Ezekiel, who wasn't even all Big Ten that year, all of a sudden hit this run where he was like, Marshall Faulk. And I remember I used to talk to Matt Miller, who works for ESPN now. He had NFLDraftScout.com. And I would talk to him all the time. And I said, Ezekiel Elliott is going to be the next Marshall Faulk. Watch, and then sure as can be, he goes top 5 and he's first team all pro as a rookie for the Dallas Cowboys. And looks like I was right. Dan Welch, thanks for the 5. Thanks for being an ultra member as well. Computer Chip Kelly lets his cyborg JJ Smith go wild on the fairy tale Irish Nevada OH. I think you have to. I think you just gotta throw it at JJ and have him make plays. That's the only thing you can really do. But I think it's JJ is going to be a big factor in this game. I just feel it after the 1 catch for 3 yards deal. I think that he's going to be undervalued. I think he's going to get after it, and he's really going to make a big statement. Nevada, your thoughts on JJ on Monday?
Yeah, no, he's a ticking time bomb, and guys like that, when they have a game, an off game, lower game, whatever you want to call it game, they generally blow up the next one. It's a tale as old as time, so I'm fully expecting that on Monday night.
Yeah, especially the way that these guys play man coverage. Like, it's going to be a tall task to check JJ man to man. I'm sure they'll help him, but then Emeka gets the Carnell gets the. Let's think about this offense. Is like you check one of them, and then Carnell's going to have 9 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown. So this is how it works. All right, Jim Sanders, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Call me crazy, but I think Dave Sigmanosin's interception at Penn State right before the half set the tone for the success for the season. Thoughts? That was a huge play. Huge play. Nevada, your thoughts on that? That's a great point. Because, again, that was a game that could have gone either way, and it was tight down to the end. And, these little plays kind of add up where all of a sudden you see where does the momentum shift. And that was definitely one of them, man. That was a huge one. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Huge play. Kind of lucky because the receiver had the ball. Davison was the benefactor of a bounce, but he made the play. But it just goes to show you, though, how close some of those games are, because you're absolutely right. If they score that touchdown right before the half, the complexion of that game totally changes, because the way we remember that game was we won and we this and this. But, I mean, we make that play. We stop them on the 1 yard line. A lot of things could have gone wrong in that. I agree that was a gigantic play. And it just kind of – I just want to talk more about that game just for a second. How at the end of that game we ran the last 5 minutes off the clock, running you're basically up the middle most of the time, beating it. Now, if we'd have run up the middle and we'd gotten stopped, then people would be like, "Oh man, look how conservative we got. We didn't have any courage. We just ran up the middle." But when it works, it's like, "Hey, you're exerting your manhood. So way to go, Ohio State." So it's plays are great when they work, and when they don't work, then you complain about them and say that the offensive coordinator stinks. But I just think that's what's great about football is you get to second guess everything. But yeah, no, the Davison play was a enormous play, and it was weird because in real time I thought it was a touchdown. I thought the Penn State guy had it, and it was a touchdown, and we were going in 10-10 or whatever it was. And next thing you know, we've got the ball, and to be able to run out the clock, and enormous play.
Yeah, I agree. It is. I mean, when plays work, it's great. I just think the personnel is so critical with that, because you can't run at their best players. That's the thing that bugs me about the Michigan game. That'll never not bug me. All right, let's wrap this thing up, Nevada. Any final thoughts?
No, Nevadabuck is halfway across the country on his trek to Atlanta, picking up kids as I'm kind of going, and I am, but I'm still full. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if Jessica and I are going to be sharing that 2-foot churro on Monday, because after this Benihana meal today, I'm not sure I'm ever going to eat again. So Nevadabuck's going to be on a hunger strike for the next 48 hours. Hopefully by the time kickoff comes, he'll be back in action.
Which means you're going to go eat at Freddy's in like an hour, probably.
Yeah, probably. That's probably too. That's probably true.
Do we have any official Dagestan Poppy action tonight?
No official Dagestan Poppy action that I'm aware of. I talked to him earlier today. He has not released any picks. I don't think he has any picks on UFC 3. Got some private picks on UFC 311, but I don't think he's got any registered picks. But if that changes, I'll let you know.
Perfect. Appreciate you guys, as always, kicking on with us. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys so much for all that you guys do. If you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a some comments. Again, put your score prediction down there. I want to see that today. Put that down in the comments below. And again, I appreciate all your feedback. I love reading the comments, and I appreciate all of the kind words and all of the constructive criticism too, because we're always trying to make this thing better. So we appreciate you guys. So again, if you want to do something huge to ensure that we win a national title, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. It'll lock in us winning a national championship. So do your part. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys have a great Saturday night. We'll be back in tomorrow night. We'll try to work around these playoffs a little bit. It's tough with these really good NFL games being on, so we don't want to go against them. So we're just try to make it as easy as possible. But I will be live streaming the game. The Kirk cast will be going on live during the game on Monday night. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on there and being in the chat. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Can't wait to see you guys. Go Bucks.